And now we move on to student representative report. Student Representative Garcia.
So firstly, I'd like to address the letter that was presented by the board last week. I know I read it, and it's my fault for not realizing sooner that I disagreed with some of what was said in the letter. But I would like to use this as an opportunity to make clear that I disagree with many of the statements in the letter and apologize to the Portland Association of Teachers, as I personally feel the letter attacks them. Cutting PERS and other benefits is something that's really emphasized in this letter. I know all my research and questioning should have happened before the letter was read. Regardless, I've researched PERS further, and I've concluded that at this time I oppose Governor Kitzhaber's proposed cuts. We made an agreement with public employees when signing into contracts with them, and we owe it to our eligible employees to honor those agreements. We cannot expect our employees to be okay with their contracts suddenly changing. For some reason, I feel like there's an expectation that teachers will voluntarily take these hits. I know last year during budget cut time, the PPS Student Union requested that teachers take furlough days. Years ago, teachers were asked to teach for free, and it's expected that teachers work longer hours than they're actually paid. Sure, the PERS system can be improved, just as everything in this world can be improved. However, we cannot just simply change the contracts we currently have. This expectation put on teachers to take cuts needs to stop. Their contracts need to be honored, and we need to be creative and find alternative solutions to fund K-12 education. Secondly, the letter says, we have made some progress in some areas, and then continues to say, this year a group of schools is incorporating multiple measures of student learning growth, including test scores and teacher evaluation. There's a weird emphasis on the fact that test scores will be included in teacher evaluation. It's implied that this is progress. I and the PPS and Portland student unions will be taking a strong stance against 1, standardized testing as a whole, and 2, test scores being used as a form of evaluation of students, teachers, administrators, or schools. I'll explain my view on this later in my student report. So as we go into negotiations and prepare for the upcoming budget, it seems imperative that all who care about public education work together to advocate for our students. What we currently need most is funding. The letter lists the goals of the board. These goals include getting students to graduate on time, preparing students for life after high school, and making sure students can read. The only way to achieve these goals is to adequately fund public education. The fact is that if we want students to really learn the material, students will need to have great relationships with the teachers so that the teachers can intervene when students need extra help. The only way for this to happen is for class sizes to be smaller, and therefore we need more teachers. More funding equates to more teachers. With that said, we need to be working together with groups like the Portland Association of Teachers. Our teachers have the same goals as we do: success for every student, regardless of race or class. Of course, the PAT advocates for their working conditions as well, but good teaching conditions translate to good learning conditions. In a lot of ways, the things the teachers are fighting for do help students. For example, the cap on high school teachers having 180 students in the end benefits all students. For those of you who attended the Future of Public Education Town Hall meeting with Chief Education Officer Rudy Crew and the Portland Association of Teachers President Gwen Sullivan last Thursday, you would have heard Gwen speak about the Teachers Union's goals. In all, our goals really align, and align with those of our teachers. We should be working together with our teachers to collectively advocate for more funding for K-12 education. The school board's letter addresses these tasks the school board's letter addresses 3 tasks that the board will be focusing its energy on. I would like to propose a 4th task: building a better relationship with the Portland Association of Teachers. Maybe in the past we have had a hard time working with the PAT. However, I see Gwen as a president who wants to build this relationship. She's been great to work with as we try to get the student feedback form piloted, and I know she's already reached out to the board about negotiations, and no one has responded to her attempts to building a better relationship. The PPS and Portland student unions will be working with the PAT to speak with the state legislator about the shameful cuts to the K-12 education budget we'll be facing in the next biennium. We will be collectively advocating in Salem, something that I propose PPS also be on board with. Please take into account that Governor Kitzhaber's proposed budget continues to cut education, and this austerity approach to is preventing student success, and spiraling further into a negative economic outcome for Oregon. Also, we need to recognize that the budget is not set in stone yet. We still have time we still have time to advocate for the $6.895 billion budget without cuts to PERS and without cuts to the ESD. I say PPS move forth and advocate for the budget alongside our teachers, as well as advocate to repeal Measure 5, Measure 11, and other measures that are locking down or limiting funding for education. We can fix this broken system. It'll be difficult, and it's going to require a collective effort from everyone, but it can be done. Beyond that, I have some updates from what's going on in the student unions. The student feedback forum is going really well. We are unable to pilot the tool at the semester as we had hoped. However, we just need to get a few more things worked out with the Portland Association of Teachers and PPS. And Gwen Sullivan and Sasha Perrin seem supportive of the work. The next step, the rest of the teachers union will be having the conversation about the tool this week, and we'll see that, and then we'll see what the next steps are. And most likely, they will include further meetings with teachers and an agreement about who we contract with to compile the feedback. And I have no doubt that we'll get a pilot out this year, and you also should all have the feedback form we've created, as well as the sample teacher report at your desks. And beyond that, the PPS and Portland student unions will be teaming up and organizing an opt-out campaign in which students are encouraged to opt out of taking their standardized OAKS tests. The student unions want to send a strong message against the standardized testing system, as we believe that standardized test scores are an inaccurate depiction of students' knowledge, have an extremely high correlation with the student's family's income, and have a high correlation with race, are expensive, and in all are taking up class time that we could use learning things that are more applicable to our lives, as well as be developing better relationships with our teachers and peers. The goal of this campaign is to send a strong message to Governor Kitzhaber, the Oregon Legislature, Dr. Rudy Crew, and the Department of Education about the importance of not standardizing our education system. We believe that we need more community-based schools and better relationships between students, teachers, parents, and administrators. Schools should not be evaluated based on student standardized test scores, but rather a 360 portfolio evaluation, which includes feedback from people who are directly involved with the school. A test score cannot give someone that same insight to a school as a discussion with students, teachers, and parents can. The ideal solution would be to eliminate high-stakes standardized testing and replace it with a more comprehensive evaluation system developed by the community. Schools are required to test a minimum of 95% of their students in order to be qualified for a score other than in need of improvement on the state report card. The idea behind the campaign is to get as many students as possible to opt out of taking these tests so that every high school in PPS earns and in need of improvement. The fact is we don't need standardized tests to tell us that our schools are in need of improvement. The system's really what's in need of improvement, and that's where our money and energy should be focused in, instead of the current focus on developing more standardized tests. That's the message we're hoping to send. Students and parents should know that these tests are optional, and then, in the end, high school students will have to prove proficiency in reading, writing, and math, the three subjects deemed important enough for students to know as they graduate from high school. However, proficiency can be proved in multiple ways. If students are earning a passing score on the PSAT, SAT, ACT, or an AP or IB exam, they can turn those scores in to prove proficiency as an alternative to taking the OAKS test. I understand that those are just alternative standardized tests, but at least they are, one, beneficial for students who are applying to college, and two, by opting out, we send a much greater message about how the system is in need of improvement. In fact, the fact is, OAKS tests literally have zero benefit to students. Why take them if they're alternative measures? With that said, OAKS are a waste of our class time, and that could be used to foster student-teacher relationships and are a drain on our state's financial resources. With that said, I encourage all students who are listening right now to opt out of taking their standardized tests. High school students will hopefully soon be hearing more about the campaign from their school's student unions. And parents, I encourage you to opt your kids out. These tests are not going to tell you anything you or your students' teachers do not already know. Please question the system, do more research, and feel free to contact me with any further questions. There should also be information posted on our Facebook page, so you should like the PPS and Portland Student Unions on Facebook. And there's also information on the Portland Student Union's website. Last things, again, we'll be going to Salem with the Teachers Union throughout the month of February to advocate for a higher K-12 education budget. We'll be having a meeting with the Portland Business Alliance to discuss their decision to restrict, we'll be having a meeting with the Portland Business Alliance about how their decision to restrict support for PPS is going to have negative effects on students. And also I want to publicly thank everyone who's been a part of the performance A Noble Failure. The theater has given the PPS and Portland Student Unions free tickets to go see their show this Friday, and we're all really excited about that. And finally, I'd like to invite everyone on the school board and Superintendent Carol Smith to our Super SAC meeting next Tuesday, February 5th at 7:30 a.m. in Benson High School. And I'd also like to invite everyone in the community and the school board and Carol Smith to our press release for the opt-out campaign, Wednesday, February 6th at 7 a.m. here at the BESC. Thanks.
So I'm going to move on to public comment.